We're going to finish today, Bezrat Hashem, the midda of Yesod in the 7th chapter. We're learning Leilu Nishmas Bas Yefega Bas Yisrael, Pinchas Menachem Ben Avram David, Frida Simon Bas Yitzchak, and in the Reinitz family in honor of all the birthdays in the month of Tevet. And the week is sponsored by Avram Miriam Deutsch, Leilu Nishmas, Avram's mother, Sarah Reitza, Bat Zion, Bas Avram Yaakov. I apologize, I haven't yet uploaded the 2 shiurs from last week. So the chevra that are listening, Bezrat Hashem, I'll get to it hopefully today, or latest by tomorrow. But what was amazing about the last shiur we did, and one of the chevra sent me a whole thing about Einstein and God afterwards. Albert Einstein and his relationship with the Ribbono Shel Olam. It's absolutely fascinating and mesmerizing. And if only he had a Baal Shem Tov, if only he had somehow someone just chained him and brought him to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and had him sit in the room with the Rebbe. I feel like Mashiach would have been here. Mamish, I feel.
The Rebbe a few times. The Rebbe used to tell stories of it. Didn't change it.
So I'm saying maybe he needed someone like the Lubavitcher Rebbe to come and really transform him completely and take him to that place where, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. So we just have a few paragraphs here, but I just want to quickly touch upon what we spoke about last time, that these worlds of what we spoke about, the Maim Elyonim and the Maim Hatachtonim. Maim Elyonim is the Chochmas HaTorah. Maim Tachtonim is the world of the Chochmas HaUmos, the world of sciences, the wisdom that comes out through midda. When they merge together, it's basically will be again what we felt at Har Sinai. At Har Sinai, there's a nigun I had to learn for Rav Ginsburg now for this last Yotes Kislev. It's an old Hasidic nigun. Elyonim sasu v'tachtainim alzu. Elyonim sasu v'tachtainim alzu. Bekabalas Taira Aksuva mi Sinai. That somehow the higher worlds and the lower worlds merged, and everyone was besimcha, and there was such a chibur between what today seems to be like it's either this or it's that. It's either this or it's that. And we were speaking about, Rav Ginsburg was speaking about what the government or what the Medina will need to do is to invest a lot of energy in producing, and I think the word that he used again to make sure I got it right, hakamat universitaot, by establishing universities that'll deal with limud pnimiyus HaTorah, which is the godly wisdom, which is mevurar, and also midda, science, the human wisdom, which is not yet mevurar. That means we haven't yet been able to show the world how that's all coming from the Torah. It's all coming from the Torah. Seeing them both. Sorry?
If Vilna had all of his students master one branch of science, he knew every branch of science except medicine, so he wouldn't have to be a physician. It's interesting. He also had that approach.
Well, he was. The Gura, the Vilna Gaon, was one of the most giant Kabbalists that ever existed. The Gura. It's less known. He was also a genius in music as well. These are things they don't really. It's less known.
The enemy. All he needed to do was meet the Maggid, and Mashiach also would have come, right?
There's a bunch of stories about that also. Rav Ginsburg says this will cause a mabul ruchani, a spiritual flood of chokhmah and das when they all meet together. And we were speaking about, this is all coming from the midda of Yesod. So we're finishing off today in the bottom of Kuf Yud. I'm sorry I don't have photocopies, but it's very short and you'll just listen. Rav Ginsburg says like this. By the way, what's waiting for us after Yesod? Malchut. Then you're ready to establish the monarchy. Then kingdom is ready. Then kingdom is ready as the tikkun. But this is really pivotal. This is really crucial over here. It's funny, all these things that we're speaking about right now, Dafka here, I'm going to bring up on this Shabbos, on this upcoming Shabbat. Thank you, Shabbaton, that you mentioned before, because I feel like everyone's speaking. It's not this week; it's next Shabbos. But everyone's speaking about Pnimiyus HaTorah, But it seems that Pnimiyus HaTorah has to go hand in hand. I feel with showing how Pnimiyus HaTorah is in everything, not just in what we call Torah. It's in everything. It's in everything. Sometimes you see like a gardener. The guy, you think he's gardening. He's not gardening. He's doing yichudim and tikkunim. He's like, I don't know if you have chaver like this in your life. Like, yeah, it's as if as if Tom was just thinking about a wall and a nail when he'd put in a nail. Ma pitom. Everything's kavanas. You should have a refuah shleima, dear brother. We love him so much. Ichud hatchum ha'eloki v'tchum ha'chulin. When I bring together Hashem, I'm going to say this very simple. I'm going to try to say very simple. But when I show and I bring together Hashem and what we call chol, what falls under that in this context? Science and... Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure philosophy. Right. I'm not sure.
I only said the first half.
Sciences, and the maths, 100% in chemistry and
kosher philosophy.
Physics. Yeah. Like when you bring all this together, what does it bring? He says it brings down shlemus chadasha bekabbalah satorah. It's a new completion of receiving the Torah. Because what happens? Ha'ofechet ata lemashmautit ulekiyumit avur kol tchumei hachaim. Because then I could see that the Torah is relevant in every area of my life. Torah is not something that becomes this just Beis Midrash Inyan or Shabbos thing. Or it just becomes relevant in every area of my life, no matter what it is. Like people that are in Eretz Yisrael, the weapons, factories that are manufacturing weapons. It'll be a godly process. The people that are working there, it'll be through this lens of godliness, of elokut. There won't be any steers between the two. And this is such a beautiful thing how he describes it. Kshatorah tichye bilvavot Yisrael, bechol uzav v'tifarta. When Torah will live in the hearts of Yidden, with all of its might and beauty, a new movement will arise. Takum tnuah ben leumit. An international movement will arise. And what will be their platform? Hoda'ah ba'amitat Torah ubigdushata. It'll be a movement or a party that's all in this world to say, we admit the Torah is emes and the Torah is holy. That'll be their whole thing. Like today, when you hear parties that speak like this, the Torah is emes and the Torah is holy, what are they also saying without saying it? Everything else is treif. And everything, that's not. That's why I love my Rebbe. I love Rav Gintz. This is like he's saying when the Torah is alive with all of its might and glory, the beauty. There'll be a harmony here, and then a new voice will come out into the world saying, "Mamish, Torah is emes," and you can see it in every area of life.
It's almost as if he's talking like this money with Mashiach.
Right.
I mean,
Interesting. He's saying this is before. You're right.
It's hard to imagine that prior to.
Of course. Yeah. It was also very.
Saying all these things, it's just like.
But you know what else was really, really hard to imagine? You know what was really hard to imagine? That you could be plucked out of Miami, from Florida. That any of us would be plucked out of Chicago, of Houston. That was also really hard to imagine. They say, that's Mashiach times, and people still hold like that.
But you're saying that harmony is going to proceed?
He's saying that this is what our avodah of the tikkun here is all about. Sure? This is the level of Yesod. Look, everything in this sefer that we've learned could be left for when Mashiach comes. This is what it'll be like, right? But that's not us. We're here, we're getting up, we're working, we're trying to do our best. And he's just saying, why don't you try to do your best in an orderly and proper manner to lehachshir et akarka. You know what that means, lehachshir et akarka? To prep the ground, to prep the land, to prep it. So obviously, these all seem like, what is he talking about? This is from Mashiach times. But you know what? There were a lot of things we're already doing that people said about us. What are you talking about? It's from Mashiach times. And you have to live with that consciousness. It's Gewalt.
We're working, of course, I build, so we're designing a house, and the clients just selected an architect, and I said, okay, what's the next step? And I said, it's karka. I said, what's that? I said, geological engineer. We need that now? I said, yeah, you have to understand where you're placing the house. You could build the best foundation. If it's not built according to the space it's sitting on, the house could fall down easily. So this
it's so deep what you just said.
No, it's you just totally...
It's so
By
deep.
the
But
way,
you
it's easy
just.
for me to apply these Torahs.
I'm
to my-
sure. I'm sure. I know.
You were just saying it can be applied to anything. Then.
Exactly. That's a great example. Meaning, it's our choice to say, how am I living here in Eretz Yisrael? What is my Inyan here? What am I busy doing here? So when you have an example like this, it's a mind-blowing. It changes the whole experience of how we live here and what we're doing here. So again, this is not to say that we're going to crack this code, and if we don't do this, then we all lost. But what he's saying over here is that if you're going to build a country, you may as well do it in a way that's mat'im la karka. And that's why it's so perfect what you're saying. Yeah.
I'm going to put it in one phrase. This is not a description. It's a prescription.
Prescription, yeah.
This is-
Because he's right.
This is tikkun hadin.
Mamash.
So who's supposed to do the tikkun? I mean,
Right, so what Yosef is saying, it could be that, who's supposed to do the tikkun?
he could say whoever.
No, you get Mashiach,
But
right?
no, it's on us. I mean,
It's on us to give it, like I told someone yesterday. There was these two guys, these two cute, energetic boys came from Fisher's Yeshiva. You know that place in Moshav Matisiel? These guys are Gewalt. These guys they're young. One was really young. I'm like they did a podcast. They have a podcast called Relatable. I think it's going to be really big. And they're just starting. It's actually really cool. It's really sweet. So they came to the office yesterday. They're setting up. They got all the gear. It's like, and then they come inside. They must have said the word "good vibes" like 5 times the first 10 minutes. So I said, "How old are you guys?" So one said 17. I'm like, "My God, my daughter's 50." This is, I knew I was dealing with a different era because Chaim David's name came up in the podcast, and they're like, I said, yeah, mamai. I'm like, wow, okay. But one thing I said to them, which is like, I find it to be so helpful, and I think this is really, really to address this, is that one of my therapists once told me, such a spitz, stark statement. He said, when you go to sleep at night, I think I shared this with you, when you go to sleep at night, you don't, a successful day is not a day that you said, wow, I nailed it today. Because what happens in the days that you don't nail it? How are you going to go to sleep at night? He said the healthiest way of living is that when you go to sleep at night, you say, wow, I gave it a really good shot today. And I think that's how we have to learn this Torah. Like, we're going to learn it, we're going to continue learning it, and then our experience here is going to be one that we could say, you know what? I gave it a really good shot. I was chosen to move to Eretz Yisrael and be part of prophecies, be part of the most incredible time to be alive and everything. But I don't know if I could nail it. I wish I could. Some people think they did. It's called the Zionist movement. We nailed it. No, I'm going to give it my best shot. He's offering us a prescription of the best shot. And Mashiach will come, and then he'll mashlim everything else, obviously. So that's why it's important to remember, like, if we don't listen, we could say this about every midda we did somehow, chesed, gvura, tiferet, netzach, hod, yesod, for sure. But we're just going to give it our best shot, and we're going to hopefully spread as much as we believe we can, and as much as Hashem allows us, to spread consciousness to people of what are you busy doing while you move to Eretz Yisrael. Tikkun HaMedina. That's what it's called. Okay, so let's go back inside. Top line on Kuf Yud Aleph. He says, once this happens, well, the Torah is going to be alive in the hearts of everyone when they'll see. There's no contradiction with the worlds, with the sciences, with in the world of academia, that you could really show the Ribono Shleim through everything. Az yikablu alehem kulam et samchus haTorah. Then the authority of the Torah will be accepted upon every single person. Not out of a kfiyah, not coercion, but it'll just be a natural process where people are going to be like, of course the authority of the Torah is, because everywhere I'm looking, that's what everyone's saying anyway. Everyone's showing how they got to where they got from the truth of the Torah. There won't be a need for me to find other avenues, other areas. Kol echad ve'echat me'Yisrael, כמו גם כל אומות העולם שיקבלו עליהם ברצון את חובותיהם שלהם. Every Jew and every non-Jew will accept upon themselves their obligations. And the non-Jew over here, he obviously explains the mitzvahs of Bnei Noach, the 7 mitzvahs of Bnei Noach. As a side note, I've mentioned this before. Rav Ginsburg has spoken about the 4 revolutions that have to take place before Mashiach is coming. The 4th one, which he just wrote a whole book on right now, is, of course, teaching Torah to the non-Jews. Ari and I, you want to just share about that meeting briefly?
About the fourth.
When we went, yeah.
About our meeting or
Yeah.
the idea?
Well, the idea and then what led to the meeting. It was already a while ago, but it was really profound.
So we have Jeremy and I have this fellowship. It's called the Land of Israel. And we teach we have many Jews, but there's also many non-Jews. And so they're so thirsty to learn any sort of Torah. They're so just from authentic Jews, and so we needed guidance. And so we went with Rav Shlomo, and then Rav Shlomo, and we went together to Rav Ginsburg, and he said, "This is it. This is the time for it. This is the calling of the generation. This is the time." And it's not just the Noah. This is what he just wrote about last week. That there's a times 2, 8 last Shem, right? Like this is, and he says we need to teach also the deeper truths of the Torah, not just B'nai Noach enough to pacify them. The thirst among the nations is so overwhelming that it's our job now to teach them the deeper teachings. Is that what you're talking about?
Exactly. Yeah. And you should just know that, like, he was so moved and touched by Ari and Jeremy, even though Jeremy showed up with stuffing pizza. Remember, I was killing it. I was like, he thinks it's a. Remember, he was stuffing whatever.
I gave him a baseball cap jersey because of pizza.
Right. Ari gave him a Mashiach baseball hat. He took a picture. You guys see the picture? Did you send it on the group? Rav Ginsburg, you have one with Y.Y. Jacobson also with the, right? He gave Rav Ginsburg the hat, and Rav Ginsburg, he didn't ask Rav Ginsburg to put it on. He puts on the hat, the Mashiach hat, and so much so that for a few months following, up until his procedure, he was checking in through me and through this a secretary to see how things are moving forward with everything that they're doing. It was so inspiring.
Yeah.
It was so beautiful.
A moment in my life.
Yeah, it should continue to take place. B'ezrat Hashem. This all comes from Sfiras of the Yesod, because this is foundational work, right? Yesod. Sfirat HaYesod היא המשך פעולתה של ספירס התפארת, on the chart of the middas. Tiferet, after Tiferet is Yesod. שהרי שתיהן ממוקמות בקו האמצעי של קומת האדם, גוף ובריס. Just to help us understand this. Remember what page this was on? Here. Tzadik Hey. Just to show you, when Rav Ginsburg was giving us the picture of the spheres, of what it looks like, those that don't have the Sefer, he showed where each one is. There's Yamin, Emtza, and Small. In the middle, in the Emtza, Keter, Da'at, Tiferet, and Yesod. Tiferet resembles the body. Yesod obviously refers to bris. בקבלה מבואר שהקשר בין שתי אלו חזק ועצמי אף יותר מקשר הענף המתקיים בין החסד והנצח או בין הגבורה וההוד. In other words, the connection between Tiferet and Yesod is it's even a much more stronger rooted connection than when you have on the sides of the branches of other spheres that come. This is the middle, the guf and the brit. The stuff when we're dealing with Kabbalistically, when it comes to the middle ground, it's very different than when you deal with stuff that are either coming from corresponding to right or left. Because if what's happening over here, isn't healthy and isn't structured in the right way, it leaves much less chances for the branches that on the other sides to sprout forth in the manner that they need to sprout forth. So that's why we know our Yiddishkeit, especially Rabbi Nachman speaks about this extensively. Yiddishkeit-wise, I could be having a lot of good things happening in my life on the branches. But if the bris isn't metukan, the whole thing is basically falls apart. Without getting too involved in it right now, and without getting the Chevra too depressed this Monday morning. But this is basically, the bris is he says that's guf, is tiferet, and Yesod has to do with, obviously, with bris. Al kach ne'emar b'zohar, gufa ubrita chashvinan chad. The Zohar Kodesh says, guf and bris are considered to be one thing. So think about this for a second. What's the midda of tiferet? How do we usually explain the midda of tiferet? Like, what word would you say would describe the midda of tiferet? Harmony, balance,
Beauty.
beauty, I think is a very, but those are all the same thing, basically, all the things you just said right now. That goes one with the bris. Now, Rev Ginsburg is saying over here that all the other things are essential, they're beautiful, they're needed. But this mahalach of Yesod, of showing that all chokhmas in the world are all rooted in the Torah and they need each other, it's not a nice idea that hopefully will do some good work in the world. This is the game changer, it's the stabilizer. It's the one that keeps things in check. Guf and bris, tiferet and yesod. And he ends off here by saying like this: Kabbalah Satorah hapnimis v'maltis b'chol tchumei achayim. Real receiving of the Torah. Alavai, we should be zocheh to receive the Torah today, just like mamash, just receiving the Torah today, in all areas of life. Mamshicha u'mesayemet et Kabbalah's chukei haTorah ha'ezrachim, continues and draws down and completes receiving the laws of the civil. It's funny how he says this: the civil laws of the Torah. Shaita inyana shel spiras hatiferes b'matzaze. In this platform, what we saw in the midda of tiferet, and we really, this is why the sefer is definitely demanding of a lot of chazara in many levels, because it's very hard to always remember everything. Tiferet, the topic was hamishpat ha'ivri, introducing Jewish law to the judicial system, but in a manner that brings about harmony, where like we saw, when it comes from the real place, people are going to want to have a Torah-valued judicial court, not be freaked out and scared daylights out of it. They'll actually want it. The question is, how do you mangish? How do you, how are you putting on the table? Rav Shlomo once said, we have everything on the kitchen. We just don't know how to put it on the menu. We just don't know how to put it on the menu. Everything's in the kitchen. We just haven't yet figured out the right way how to write it on the menu.
Jewish PR. Oh, we need Malchut for that.
For putting it on the menu, could be. And that's why it's coming up right now.
Or even maybe the recipe. We have the raw ingredients, but I just remember with the whole Supreme Court thing that was happening, the first law that they passed was no chametz in the hospital.
Right.
Like they were reaffirming the deepest fears of the Ayatollah state.
It's such a rosh katan.
Yeah.
It's such a rosh. In Yiddish, you call this a kleine cup. Small head, small brains.
A lachen cup.
Huh?
A
A lachen cup. It's true. You're right. It's such a fisfus. That's the sad thing. Fisfus means, wow, you missed it. You mamish missed it. You missed it. You could have had everyone at the first shlat, right? Okay, we're here for Tikkun Medina.
It felt intentional. Something felt intentional.
Of course it was. Of course it was.
The power play.
It's just not our derech. It's just not our derech. Pashut, it's not our derech.
I just can't help to go back to the gvura and the chesed of the gvura. Like all of this isn't possible because we're so, what's the right word, involved in dealing with the Ishmaelim within us, and that the only way that it's really going to be possible that the harmony between the two sides is when they're all gone. It just keeps going back into my head, like, so when are we doing that?
Correct?
Because
Correct.
We're so busy, worried about our own security, right? It's like the whole thing with the Iron Dome, as opposed to get rid of the issues, you won't have to worry about the Iron
You're
Dome,
right.
right? So it's like there's still so many steps.
Right. I'll strengthen your point even more. I would love to just be in Yesod already, right? Like on a tikkun, like if I could choose like one place of tikkun, like let's start new schools. Let's get this all intact, right? But you know that in the world of Gevura, for instance, did you ever read the ethical code of the army of the of Tzahal? Did any of you ever read it? It's one of the most greatest chilul Hashems I've ever seen in my life, and I've been starting to look into it more and more. It's scary. Scary. It's nothing. It's not only like not good. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. So you have to, already in Chesed and Gvura, you have to start over there saying when the soldier's here, first of all, the name itself, we've spoken about this, is very, very, very problematic. Yes. Tzva HaHagana L'Yisrael is a very problematic name. I think Ben Gurion is the one that gave it its name.
What does it mean?
Israel's Defense Forces. What does that mean?
Why isn't it the Israeli?
The Israeli forces, the military. What does that imply?
Why are we always on the defensive?
But you should, when you read the ethical code of the army, you should read it.
Why?
You understand why? It's crazy.
Like,
Yeah. In the word, it's everything. So Yosef, of course I'm with you. Like we're not saying here. Let's listen. Let's just. This book is to be read and implemented in a seder. In a seder. But to come down to here, to the Guf, saying this is where it is over here. Guf and Brit, they're one. And when, I'm just going to read this again, Kabbalah Satorah, Pnimis V'amutis B'chol Tchumei HaChaim, ממשיכה ומסיימת את קבלת חוקי התורה האזרחיים, שהייתה עניינה של ספירס התפארת במצע זה. This midda of Yesod completes what we learned in Tiferet, which was Mishpat Ivri, that the way that you show how the Jewish law could be activated here, right? The Yesod kind of finishes it up and says, look how beautiful it could be. Look how inviting and exciting it could be. Haratzon lekayem et haTorah bechol tchumei hachayim, the desire that Torah is my life in every avenue in life, novea mikoach haemet ve'ha'imut. It sprouts forth from the strength of truth and authenticity. Mina ha'akara bekach sheMoshe emes veTorah emes. Recognizing that Moshe is truth and his Torah is truth.
coincidentally, it's Monday and the
Moshe's birth, yeah. No coincidence. בהירות זו חייבת להיות קבועה בחשיבה היהודית בעוצמה כה רבה. This clarity has got to be permanent and consistent in Jewish thinking with such might and power to the extent that עד שתצא האמת לאור מאליה, that you don't have to work hard with any PR. It's a byproduct. It's a natural... It naturally emanates from the way that we live.
Natural progression.
We're so busy trying to prove our truth. Think about how much we've been working trying to prove our truth here. How much money has been spent trying to prove our truth, trying to stand up and speak out against sheker and everything. Can you imagine when the way that we live our lives as a people wouldn't demand a second of that, of putting koyach into that? That sounds Mashiach-dik to me, if you ask me. That sounds mamash Mashiach-dik to me. Va'olam kulo yavo li'idei hakara betorat emet. The whole world will come to recognition of the truth of the Torah, ulitchiyat kol haziyufim shela, and to reject all of its phony, fake imitations of what truth is. Yes, we're pretty far from that. We're pretty far from that. I mean, it's not unbelievable. We say, can you believe? I could believe. Can you believe that? Why not? Why not? Can you believe they're blaming the fires in LA on? Of course, anything bad that what? I wouldn't believe it if they didn't. At this shlaf in life. But when Yidden are Yidden, and Yidden are Yidden, doesn't mean when everyone's from. That already kills it, right? But when everyone, that's it. Like, forget it, because then you knocked off. You knocked off almost everybody.
You
right?
can't use the F word.
Mamash. It's not shayach over here. Not over here. Over here, no, what does it mean? It means pnimius dekafrum. What does that mean? Like mamash, the merger of all worlds, where all worlds of information are working in harmony. That's what we're talking about. Kshemata.
There is a move in the human consciousness towards this right now. As you said, from the Goyim, there's a tremendous spur.
There is.
And you see, even secular Jews, they're slowly waking up. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg, sorry to say, but I don't know whether it's PR or whatever he's doing, but he's had a change. Let's just be honest.
Based on what he did this week.
Yeah, not just this week. He's a very powerful person. He has at least half the world using his platform and he's starting to realize that the way he was being controlled by a certain agenda is wrong, and he's trying to open himself up for a healthier way of being.
Or he's got his finger to the wind and he realizes
That also, but the point is, nevertheless, the
He's the
wind
influence
blowing in
of
the right direction.
The wind's
Yeah.
blowing in the right direction.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
shows that there is an awakening towards people searching for truth and wanting the expression and the ability to share it. Because a lot of us, I don't know if you've had experience when you were trying to run social media and do marketing, up until recently you were blocked if you went a certain way. And there's potential now to get that light
What do you
out.
mean you were blocked?
People's accounts all the time.
Very
flags.
censored. They shut it down.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
again and again.
Oh, yeah.
I had a bunch of times I had to send in my passport. Not that I did anything crazy. I was just as going on the path of what we're talking here, and my account was under many times questioned. And
You get put in jail for 30 days. You can't post
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, guys like Yehuda
Avi
and
Yaakov, his
Hillel
whole-
and Avi, yeah,
All the time.
they've been
Hillel's
blocked on
been-
social
was-
media because of
Things
the
that-
falsehoods that they've been perpetrating
this will help
about Israel.
And
I've
I'm
always been
freedom
so
to
surprised that you've made it
share
for
that
so
light.
long.
Till this morning.
Any moment they pick us up and we're done.
No, because you raised that in the past also. I'm like, what is he talking about?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
I'm
that
like,
was
what
more-
are
that
you-
was more
What are you talking
sanctions and
about?
stuff
No,
like
that's right. That's right. It's the same idea.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
guy's
same
a
idea.
right-wing, lunatic, dangerous individual who's propagating it. And your own friends sometimes will say that. So, like,
Right.
it's not so far.
Right. No, I didn't realize how real it was.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And then now it's slowly changing, thank God, in a good way. Because people have had enough of being controlled and limited. But to be
I just saw that the Cadaver Joe got up yesterday and responded to him and said, he said, this is not America. Meaning responding to Zuckerberg.
he's
This is not, what's America? What's anything? It's all, it's we belong, our avoda, any real change will only come, it'll only be from here. Only from here.
a light can now access beyond, better, a little bit more.
It's very interesting. But can you imagine if we didn't have to spend any energy in trying to speak our truth?
No.
That's messianic, that's mamish messianic times. That's what he's saying over here. Now, it says like this, "Shematara zot tusag," when this gets accomplished, "Yaseh tikun hashalem karov ve'efshari." Then, he says, then you're getting much closer to tikkun. You're not there yet, but you're still much closer to tikkun. But then, he says, "Azai tiye mamleches Hashem," then the kingdom of God will be something davar she'efshar lachshov alav halacha l'maisa. V'lageshet livnoto b'foal. After this Yesod takes place, he says, then boys and girls, you're ready for the real deal. And what's that? Monarchy. Malchus. Something that we are so far removed from. Not just time-wise. Also here, listen, yesterday in the women's shir, the tables, we had a fascinating shir about, we're up to now in the shir, in the women's shir on Sunday mornings of who is Mashiach? Who is Melech HaMashiach? Siyam HaTikun, yeah. Who is Melech HaMashiach? And you know what we realized? That one of the reasons why it's the hardest thing in the world to believe in the coming of Mashiach is not about the era, but it's the fact that there could actually be a person that could be a real king. We don't have that visual. We don't have that trust in humanity. We really don't. And that's one of the great barriers that lies between us and buying into the whole Mashiach Inyan, because that the Rambam says that Mashiach is going to be Basar Vadam. And he's not going to be this Malach that falls down from Shemaim. It's actually going to be a person. And that is one of the reasons why it's so hard for us to go the whole way with the whole notion of Mashiach, because of the human aspect. Because these are things that are so far removed from us. So we've seen over here, we've been learning for so long already, we're getting closer to the end of at least learning the Rav Sefer. Bezrat Hashem, we'll continue next time with Malchus.